We always make it sound like we can thrive in our careers in BD and marketing and we can have so much fun. It's so interesting, it's so fulfilling. But there is a real pressure in working at law firms, working in a highly demanding environment, working with lawyers who work on very sensitive topics. So it's true that we do take that pressure home sometimes, and we have to learn throughout our careers how to live with people around us who are not always aware of what we're doing. To just like, well, this is life, right? It's normal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe on the topic of urgency and importance, I think this is what is the main driver for these feelings around, feeling stressed or feeling pressured, or, there is obviously a lot going on, but we also create all that work, right? Unless there is a pressing client deadline because that was on the table already for a long time. I think all the rest of it is something that we make and create. And if we were to agree those deadlines together as a group of people who would be involved in that project or in the thing that we're doing, then at least people can anticipate, and it's going to be much easier to plan and to ideally also stick with the deadlines that we're given. Yeah. And then also deal and cope with the pressure that comes with that.
Yeah.
But how often have you seen, I've seen this so much, where partners would come to me and say, I need to get this done. This is a proposal. I need it out tomorrow. It's for a client. It's really important. A couple of things that are being mentioned, like it is for a client. It is really important. This is a proposal. And that's most of the time the only information that you get. Then what do you do with that, right?
Yeah.
Because when I start to look at a couple of things to identify, for example, what is the impact going to be when we are actually going to submit that proposal? Is the impact going to be, it's going to be great for PR, it's going to be great for our revenue, it's going to be great for building our credentials in a particular area of work, or we just need to be seen to be pitching also in front of that particular client.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then often, I don't know if you've seen that, but often I have seen when I looked through emails being forwarded onto me with the request of this urgent, important proposal that needs to be prepared within the day, is that the chain of emails started already a week or sometimes 2 weeks before, and it just wasn't sent to the right team to deal with. And then it comes as a bit of an afterthought. Oh, shoot, we have to submit it by tomorrow. Okay, let's get the team involved. It's effectively too late. And I then query, how important and urgent is that proposal if it didn't have your priority in the first place? Because if it had your priority, you would have taken action on it immediately, because if a client sends you a proposal with a deadline in the next 2 or 3 weeks, it means that they anticipate you'll need to spend a bit of time on it. It's not for you to sit on it and then push it until the very last minute.
Yeah.
It's actually to allow for time to think properly about what you're going to put in that document, rather than just rushing through things and doing that. Now, sets the scene for an important question.
Indeed.
How do we deal with these situations? Because we don't want to overstep. We want to obviously seem, we're very service-minded, and we don't want to say no. What do we do? How do we approach this?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because I think I have heard this, so not necessarily directed at me, but I've seen those emails go around or those requests come around at least once a week since I started my career. There's not been a single week where at any given law firm there has not been an urgent request from a client. We need to put a proposal together and it's due tomorrow, the day after, in 3 days. And a few things I find interesting about this. Often, the urgency justifies preparing a document that will, perhaps the document will be as good as we prepare it, but the urgency will justify not going back to the client to ask for more questions. It will justify not necessarily following the steps that we would have put in place as a BD and marketing team to be able to deliver the best document, the best proposal, the best project, as we could really. A couple of things here, because it's about behavior, right? And it's also about collaboration culture.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that lawyers are often very busy, and we do the same sometimes. You will have a request, and okay, right, it's at the back of your mind, and it's going to take you a little bit of time to think about it. But I tend to think that BDN marketing, because we do work as teams, we have to work collaboratively. We are a little bit better at planning and at managing those projects. So yeah, I've had those few requests, urgent requests, and at first I think that I was very reactive, and I was taking it as, okay, I just need to.
Oh my goodness, the nights I spent in an office until
Exactly.
2-3 a.m. just to get it done, because that's the only thing that is then on your mind, right? It's like, okay, no matter what, I just need to get it done. Even if I can't get it done, I need to get it done.
Absolutely.
So I'll find a way to get it done.
Yeah.
But that cannot be the thing, as in what is the approach that we should take? Because I think only later on in my career, when I developed my seniority across the firm and obviously the respect that I had from partners that I worked with, I felt I was in a place where I could have that discussion with them. It didn't mean we wouldn't do it. I think later on maybe I had a couple of instances where I just didn't do it. But it takes something. What is that? Like, how do we get to that point?
Yeah, and it's an interesting conversation. I think with the urgency, and especially when you're more junior, completing that task is important because you're going to look good to the partner.
Yeah.
Or to the lawyer, right? And I think it's important to always keep in mind that we're all working for the client, and this is a response to a client request. So it's quite good. I think this is a good starting point as a conversation to say, like,
also maybe for yourself, as in for your own morale, to think like, okay, this is a client request. I'm doing this for the client. I'm doing this for the firm. So someone may have, screwed up a little bit in between.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's not always fair to get all of this pressure dumped on you to prepare something.
Well, if we're going to talk about what's fair, then yeah.
Yeah, well, fair enough. But it's true that perhaps the lawyer has agreed to provide something to a client, and then suddenly they realize that they can't do it on their own, and they're just passing on this to you.
Well, yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, what I found very useful is to, well, first of all, speak transparently about what is going to take to you, to the BD team, to your colleagues, to actually respond to that request.
Yeah.
And you have to, I think, approach those requests with an open mind, but also a can-do attitude. So, right, I can do it, but I need to inform you that while I am doing this, I have to drop all of these other projects.
Yeah.
And I also need to really assess with you that this is a top priority. I need to understand that it is worth spending my Sunday morning on this proposal, or my entire Thursday night working really hard on making sure that we deliver the best document as possible.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think outlining the value that sort of like composes this proposal, not necessarily the value as in the work that the firm might be doing as a result of winning the proposal, but actually the value of preparing the proposal. I think it's something that is very often overlooked in anything. Now we talk about a proposal, but it could be any type of request that we do, right? So we can express this as much as lawyers can with their billable time. I think we can also express this in value in terms of how much time are you going to spend on this? Because I'm doing that, I can't do that. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah. What else?
Yeah. So I think this is a good starting point. I think on the point of value, or the investment that lawyers and BD and marketing team will put into their efforts, I have actually worked on a project to quantify that, and I looked at billable hours, and I said, like, right, okay, we're going to be spending the next 8 hours working on this. It's going to be 8 hours from a partner. It's going to be 6 hours from a BD and marketing team. This is the price value of preparing this project. Is it worth doing it?
Yeah.
I think this is a fair question.
It is, because often we don't see it as a real investment from our side if there is no sponsorship fee or any other money to be paid effectively.
Yeah.
But we are paying, because the time that we are working, especially with lawyers, that cannot be billed is a cost.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say that a good way to approach those requests is, yes, having a conversation with lawyers, having a can-do attitude, having them acknowledge that, right, this is a priority, so we really need to do it.
Yeah.
You also agreeing to, put in the effort, and then completing the work, and then debriefing and talking about what worked, what didn't work well, and having everyone recognize how this could have gone better.
So when is the time you think we are going to bring up the fact that the email from the client already came in 2 weeks before, and now I only receive it a day before the proposal is due for submission? Is that the time when I'm receiving this request from the partner and I'm going to tell him, but hey, you've sat on this for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Why didn't you inform me earlier? Because, now I only have 24 hours to turn this around, whereas the client had actually given me 14 days to turn this around for a reason.
Yes.
When is this conversation? Because I can imagine, I'll be frustrated from the moment I receive this. And I know I'll be service-minded. I'll tell them, I'll get it done for you, blah, blah, blah. But still, that thing is in the back of my head where, the frustration will also prevent me from maybe doing my very best effort on that proposal.
And let's be honest, it's probably also in the lawyer's mind that them forwarding the email will create that frustration. I think when you collaborate, you have to think about what you're trying to achieve at first. So perhaps raising that point, well, my approach would not to necessarily raise that point immediately. I would ask for the deadline. I would probably mention that it's not ideal, and it would have been great to be briefed prior to this. We would have had more time to perhaps get back to the client, to ask more questions, to put a proper team in place to do this. But again, I think we need to think about, what the next steps are.
I think it can help with setting expectations, right? Because the amount of time that you had originally for the proposal versus doing that now in 24 hours, it's not realistic to expect the same amount of work and quality of output can be expected with that amount of time versus, the initial provided time.
Indeed. And it's also good for you as a professional because you also set boundaries as to, what you're ready to accept from partners as a team leader as well. This is like, if we had this request 2 weeks ago, this is the work that we could have delivered. But now this is what we will be able to deliver to you. It's still going to be good, but this is what we'll be doing. So
and perhaps agree on priorities, right? So because you're unlikely to be able to do everything within that short amount of time. So maybe you can write down a list of things. Okay, this is what we could have done. This is what we now have to agree we can't do in this time. So what are your priorities? What would you like to focus on the most that we need to bring forward into this document that is going to still wow the client, but with our limited ability to do that?
Absolutely.
And then I think if you do everything, as you say, collaboratively, so in agreement, so don't just take the email, acknowledge it, and start to work on it, but actually have a conversation, even if that's going to mean you need to wait for this person to be available. Okay, that's fine. In the meantime, you can already do some groundwork on the document. But you need to have that dialogue. I think that's the most important thing.
Yes.
Which I've seen doesn't always work. In fact, actually, I think it just makes sense to make that a habit. Like every time, if it's a proposal, if it's a request for a change of profile, bio, anything that they would ask for, directory submissions, you name it, I think just be very clear on expectations. I would always just send an email afterwards, have a discussion with the person, or if it's quite clear on the email, reconfirm what it is that you are going to do for them. That also avoids being in tricky situations around, not being able to meet expectations effectively, and then people getting disappointed in the work that you deliver. But if you're very clear and you set it out in an email, then there's no way around it. That's effectively what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is also an interesting thing around this. It's saying no sometimes.
Ooh, what's that?
Well, if the requests are unreasonable, you have to say no altogether.
Yeah.
Because we also have to keep in mind that providing a half-done job is potentially putting...
But this is a tricky point. So who decides what is unreasonable?
Yeah.
Because something that is unreasonable to you because, I've got a gym appointment and I need to get my hair done and I also have this and I also have that. Like there's stuff going on in your life that might make something unreasonable. Whereas if you speak to a partner, in his mind, it might be about, this is completely reasonable. This is something that you just have to do. Just get it done.
Yeah.
Okay, what happens? What do we do?
Yeah, well, this is really interesting, and I think that it doesn't necessarily start with that one request, one-off. So sometimes it is true that you might not be able to do it, and perhaps it is something very important, and you can help in finding ways of getting this work done. Right?
Yeah.
This is part of the collaboration, but again, it's part of the culture of the firm. And as you are putting in place processes as well, and as you're working toward aiming at setting expectations and explaining what your team can deliver, well, you also have to explain that sometimes we won't be able to deliver.
Yeah.
Priorities, you've mentioned it.
Yeah.
And also importance. If it's really that important, then it's really not that urgent.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree with that. And I think another argument would be to say, we're a firm proud of delivering quality work, and I will not be able to deliver quality work because of time constraints or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I will not be able to do that, and I'm not going to produce half-baked products because that's just not who I am and what I want to be known for. So
Absolutely.
No, thank you. And I think this is not only with regards to proposals, but it's also with, sometimes people have ideas and all the ideas are wonderful, but we have to drill down on the effectiveness of those ideas. Like, is it going to turn into some sort of ROI? Is it going to be, as you said, worth our time and effort? And it could be as simple as organizing a small webinar, even, something online. It doesn't mean it's always a good idea, but we have to come back with, I wouldn't necessarily say no, but there needs to be a level of challenge, because I also want to see this in the light of, okay, we are the experts. Now there is someone who's coming in with this big idea. But yeah, ideas are great, but how do we have that conversation to tell them, well, actually, it's not really a good idea because... I mean, it's happened, right? It happens
absolutely,
a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember when I was working in London, I had partners coming up to me sometimes saying, "Oh, can we put this event together for, let's say, next week?" And it's like, well, I don't think this is going to work, because there's a lot of work that goes into the preparation of events and others. And we may look as if, it was really easy, but it's not how it goes. So I would always say, oh, well, actually, this is a good idea, but let's talk about it a little bit more and explain how far we could go if we were allowing more time and more planning for this activity. I think when you're able to discuss that end goal, what you're trying to achieve, when you discuss how important this is and how great of an opportunity this could be, then people will start seeing that it's not that urgent. We are going to invest the right amount of time, the resources that are required, and we will do this properly.
Yeah, and what you said, that's crucial. With everything that we do in marketing and business development, we need to ask, what is it that we are looking to achieve by doing this? And sometimes, when you have this discussion with partners, they don't always have this in their mind. They just only have in their mind, we need to do this, and their motivation to do whatever it is that they want to do is often derived from, because the other firm is doing this, or I heard someone talk about that and I thought it was a really good idea, or I don't know, I woke up this morning and thought of this and I thought it was a good idea, so let's get it done. Whereas, or maybe it's just an emotional reaction to something rather than, anything that's been properly looked into. So I fully agree. I think it's the best place to start from is to actually start with the end, which sounds silly, but knowing, okay, what is this going to look like for you when we have success? What is it that you want to get out of it? And then indeed, if they say, well, because this is an opportunity for us on XYZ reason, then you can say, well, okay, then we better do it right, correct? If this is such a big opportunity, then we have to do it in the right way. And then it's going to help you to turn this into actual return on investment. But if we don't,
Yeah, absolutely. There is something that, we've just discussed. It's about those conversations. And I would always say, right, let's recognize that an idea is better than no idea. You don't want to kill the enthusiasm from anyone. You want to work collaboratively, and you want to recognize that, okay, this is great. You're invested in this.
Never go in to say, wow, that's a bad idea. No, encourage people. I totally agree. Even if you think for yourself, say, oh my goodness, this is the worst thing I've heard for a long time. Yeah, just pause that and just continue to think.
Exactly.
Oh, at least they come up with ideas. I mean, brilliant.
Yes, but it's true. It's key. It's very important to ask questions and try to understand where they're coming from and what they're trying to achieve. To make sure that we can collaborate on this idea and make it a project that is going to actually have some great returns on the planning and on the event.
So a few thoughts on this is that we start with the end goal. We want to understand why are we doing certain things, whether it's a proposal, organizing an event, putting together a directory submission, whatever it is that we do with lawyers. I think you mentioned also a big piece around collaboration. Make sure that it is always a collaborative effort. This means that we need to communicate and have dialogue with people. So don't just accept stuff for what it is, but have this conversation. Make sure that you confirm stuff so that you basically acknowledge whatever is being sent your way, verbally, written format. You acknowledge it, but you also confirm the expectations effectively by, summarizing what was said, what was asked, so that you know you're on the same page. Don't say no. There's no reason to say no, but explore and investigate. And finally, the debrief. Once the project is over or the thing that you've been working on, to also make sure that you will then find the time to say, hey, that was not cool. You've had this email for 2 weeks. Why didn't you send it to me earlier? Can we please just agree? I know things get busy, but if it's really important, can we agree that you just share it as soon as it gets through? And if you don't, then we should also agree that I can't do as much as I would have been able to do. So you have to lower your expectations with regards to the output. It's fair. Talking about fair.
Absolutely. Great.